students, we're over the halfway mark for the 2024 legislative session, which means we are in the midst of intense floor action. If you were to come to Olympia now, all the legislators would be in the House and Senate chambers, and all the lobbyists and advocates are hanging out around the doors trying to get legislators to talk to them. We call it working the doors, and there's a lot of standing around involved. On the plus side, you can watch the floor action from the House and Senate galleries, assuming legislators aren't in caucus, because then you'd be watching the actual floor and a lot of desks with maybe an occasional staff person sighting. So let's get into our bills. As you heard from Ms. Paulson, the ReWRAP Act was amended before it came out of House Appropriations. Procedurally, it can be a bit confusing because we technically saw an amendment to an amendment be adopted, and then the full amendment created a totally new version of the bill. So what happened in practical terms? First, the language from Rep. Stonier was all about beefing up the intent section. These intent sections are basically the way that legislators justify the need for legislative action. They can reference things like previous state agency reports, other research, or even current challenges that are being addressed as a way to build the case for the bill. Rep. Stonier's language recognizes the Department of Ecology has looked into recycling rates in the past. This is a way to counter calls from opponents for more research and say, actually, we already did the research. So one nuance here is the intent section won't be codified as new state law like the rest of the bill. This is purely a strategic move by Rep. Stonier because it allowed her to say things on the record in support of the bill during executive action. Now, thank goodness for committee materials because there were a lot of other changes in the amendments from Rep. Fitzgibbon. The committee staff always prepare a summary of the changes, and for a bill this long, those summaries are gold. So something to know about Representative Fitzgibbon is he used to be the chair of the Environment Committee. He's now the majority leader for the House Democrats, which means he's a really good person to know if you need something done. So what does this big amendment do? Well, at a high level, there were a lot of technical changes to the many elements in the bill. The PRO, the needs assessment from ecology, the curbside recycling requirements, the requirements around recycled content for certain containers, and the fees created in the bill to fund everything were all modified. We also saw a change that requires the PRO to collaborate with youth organizations in addition to the other groups identified in the bill. Plus, there is a new null and void clause. The bill actually needs to be funded in all the right places in the budget. If it's not funded, the bill becomes null and void. It doesn't matter if it made it all the way through the legislative process because it didn't get funding. That was a lot. I need a break. Remember, we already saw the Environmental Crimes Bill pulled from the Rules Committee and passed over to the House. Also remember, the Rules Committee is the gatekeeper for floor action. Now, as a lobbyist, if my bill is sitting in the Rules Committee, I make sure I get a note into a legislator on the committee who I have a good relationship with, asking them to please, 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 please pull my bill during the next meeting. I might even reach out to several different legislators if my bill has bipartisan support, just to let them know that lots of folks agree with the policy and they should support it too. Ultimately, rules polls are a waiting game, and the nerves really start to build as the next cutoff date approaches. The longer it takes, the more notes you put in asking for help to, again, please, 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 move the bill forward. Some advocacy groups will even send emails asking folks to contact certain legislators in the hopes that hearing from lots of people who support the bill will get it to the floor. I wouldn't be surprised if the governor's office even puts a word in on the ReWRAP Act. Something else that can happen while a bill waits and rules is legislators can still introduce amendments, and those amendments have to be considered on the floor for a vote. The ReWRAP Act is going to have to face at least one amendment from Rep. Phi that would completely remove the PRO from the bill. Now that's going to cause some drama, although it might be dealt with behind the scenes instead of on the floor, since this is a Democrat taking on another Democrat. You'll have to watch floor action very closely to see how it all plays out. If you want to see a bill move forward this year, pick up the phone and call a legislator's office. You'll get a very nice staff person, and you should be prepared to say which bill you are calling about, what your position is, and what you'd like to see happen. Then ask what the legislator's position is, so you will know if you agree with them or not. Always remember to be polite. Being nice goes a long way, especially since a lot of the calls that legislators get are not nice or even pretty rude. If you have any questions, please send them in through the Capital Classroom Plus platform, and you might even get a response in the next update videos. See you next time.